Welcome, everybody. It's Dancefair 2018. My name is Dennis Ruyer, radio host at 538's Dance Department. I'm here with the one and only Mr. Maykel Piron, head honcho, one of the head honchos of the Armada spaceship. Good afternoon, Maykel.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I see some people from the office as well. They don't know the story that much yet, so it's nice to see you all here. I must say, it was like when they asked us to be present at the Dancefair, and when they asked me to do a Q&A, I was like, okay, I want Dennis to do the interview because he knows dance music, and that's for me the most important part. Because if you are being interviewed and a journalist doesn't know that much about dance, that's always weird, you know. So I'm happy to see you here.
Thank you.
I'm happy that you said yes.
We go way back as well, from Miami, Ibiza to Amsterdam. So it's good to be here. So Maykel, because that for me, I don't know that as well. 15 years ago, you guys founded Armada. What is the story behind the birth of Armada?
Yeah, that's a nice one. So actually, I started working in the music industry about, what is it? Oh, I'm getting old, 23 years ago. And first I was working for an independent. I think dance music belongs to independent companies. So I created some experience at a company called Purple Eye. And I had the luck to be able to work with guys like Armin, already Ferry Corsten, did some releases with Ferry and Tiesto as well, it was a project called Ruyer. Had some massive successes in the UK with it, or globally, but especially in the UK, it was like this whole trance movement was coming up. Piron was playing trance every week in his radio show. You can't think about that anymore now.
Oakenfold was a big star back then.
Big star, yeah. So, and then at a certain point, I moved on to Warner's, Warner Music. They did not have like a dance department yet in the Netherlands, so I created a dance department there. And at a certain point, they also asked me to be a little bit involved in the publishing department too, where I signed Armin to. So, so he knew like that I was, you know, thinking like, hey, maybe I should do something for myself. So at a certain point, he invited me to join him on tour. And I remember we first went to England, and then we moved on to Ibiza. And in Ibiza, on a rooftop, he was like, hey, you want to set up a label, and I'm interested in joining. I want you, you know, to be my partner. And I was like, okay, this could be fun, because at that point he was already quite successful. And I think that nowadays, if you want to start a label, you know, nobody knows me. So I was like, hey, I can set up a label, but what's the sense, you know? I'm not obviously, I knew some people who were willing to send music to me, but it's not only that. You need to have like a kind of platform. So I was thinking like, hey, this could make sense. And he was, you know, a very talented producer as well, besides the DJing. So I was like, if we work together and he's going to deliver his music, then, you know, that's a good starting point. So that's basically where it all happened. In Ibiza, on a rooftop. That's now about 16 years ago, because it took some time. You know, it's always taking time before you start a label. It takes time to really do it. You know, so that's what I can advise to everybody who wants to start something, and not only a label, but if you are going to do a business, then it makes sense to have like preparation time. You know, because otherwise you're going to burn too much money or time, and you know, it's always good to, if you want to do something, if you want to set up your business, take your time, because, you know, life is pretty long anyway, you know, so it's better to prepare something for half a year or a year instead of doing it in a month, because, you know, what's the sense? So we did some preparations. We started signing music. One of the first signings was actually Motorcycle, As the Rush Comes. And I did this like, and it was pretty tricky. I did it on the Fox of Water. But that was the deal. That was one of the first signings, and this is where how we started with a few signings It was basically only me sitting in the office. The good thing was that the music industry went down drastically at that point. So Armin said like, hey, I also want to advise you that one of my bookings agent, David Lewis, he wants to join as well. And I was thinking like, hey, this could make sense because the industry goes down, and maybe it makes sense to be involved a little bit in on the live side as well. So that's the reason why we said like, okay, the three of us are going to work together. David was like very much focused on the live side, Armin as an artist and representative as for the label, and I was involved on everything music related. And that's so, yeah, it was only me sitting there. And all of a sudden we started hiring people, and
needing
now,
a bigger building, hiring different.
Yeah, we started in a little village called Scheveningen. It was an office, it was a shared office, even 75 square meters. So we shared the office with another company. And from there on we moved to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, we started hiring, renting like a space of 100 square meters, 200 square meters, and now it's like the whole building.
Including a club.
Including a club is ours. And that's a lot of fun. So I'm really happy to see that within 15 years, we created a company which is super diverse. So it's not only Armada anymore, we also started a company called Cloud9. That's more like publishing focus, but we are also involved through Cloud9 in a publishing company in London.
And how many labels are involved in Armada?
Yeah, now so at a certain point,
right?
we decided to offer artists their own imprints, yeah? Because at a certain point, an artist is getting bigger, and then the brand is like, for me, an artist is a brand. So, and I think that the trick is to make the artists, when they start working together with us, we have a platform, and that's the Armada platform. And at a certain point, if everything goes well, the artist is getting bigger and is becoming a bigger brand. And then I think that the artist deserves to have his own imprint, because that should be part then of his whole...
It's part of the artist brand.
Yeah, yeah. So an artist can then start like traveling and doing the tours with a subtitle of his label, or the radio shows are being branded like that as well. Look to Armin has a State of Trance, and it's also a label. And that makes sense.
Yeah, and Sonnery and Ryan also having their own radio show
right
now and getting bigger and bigger. What was your musical heritage when you were young, when you started Armada? Were you also clubbing and going mad on the dance floor in that time? Or?
I think that there was like a guy living in my street when I was at an age of 9, and he said like, you need to listen to the radio, and then you can listen to mixes. So back then, house music did not even exist. So people were making mixes with cuts on a tape deck. And I listened to it and I was like, what is this? This is insane. So at an age of 9, I started collecting mixes. So first it was the Bond van Doorstarters on Ferry Maat's Soul Show at 8:30 on Thursday. And my parents always wanted to do the shoppings on Thursday because it was like koopavond. And then I was listening. And the tape deck was running to record it, and I was listening in the shop, like, what's going on, what's going on? And that eagerness and that the fact that I was listening so much to dance music back then, but dance music was like, what was it? Timmy Jam and Jerry Lewis, and it was like soulful music, 116 BPM. And at a certain point, I remember that electronic music came up. And it was called New Beat. And I was like 13 years old and living in the south of the Netherlands, close to Belgium, where they started playing New Beat. And I was able to sneak out every now and then because I had older friends. And then I went to the club in Tilburg. Bart Timbels was playing there together with Svenno Koemans. And they all, later on, they all got involved in the music industry. But back then, nobody knew. And sneaking in, and I was seeing all those people like dancing on New Beat, and I was like, what is this? So I got like, at an early stage, I was involved in this type of music, but as a consumer. I was listening to it, I was buying the music, And it was always my big dream to work for a record label, but I was always thinking like, yeah, but what's the chance that this can happen? Nah, it happened.
Yeah.
And then the next step was to set up a company.
Nice.
Where we are now, yeah.
And in the time of when trance music got really big, that was also a revolution, of course.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
With guys like Oakenfold and his amazing 2 years of Cream Resident compilation, then you really knew we were part of like this revolution, what electronic music is until today.
It's a nice story because I received a demo from Ferry Corsten, and it was called Out of the Blue. And he played me the track first through the phone, and I was saying like, wow, this is a game changer. This record, and so you know what? Create like the finished version of it, finish it, then come to the office. And what we are going to do is we are going to create white labels. Because back then everybody was playing on vinyl. So we created white labels, and we said only on the white label, this is something to blow your brain out. And that's it. And Oakenfold, he got sent one, but he bought one for £1,000. So he didn't check his post. But he really wanted to have that vinyl. So, and there were like about 12 inches out there. So he bought one. And all of a sudden my phone started ringing. And it was like, hi, it's Pete Tong. I want to sign this. Hi, it's Judge Jules. So all the key DJs from back then started ringing, and were like, hey, what's happening here? This is a new sound. We need to have it. And like I just said, like Pete Tong was playing sometimes 3-4 times trance records in a row during the Essential selection. It's unbelievable.
So then you knew I'm on the right path with the stuff we're doing here.
Then you know there's something going on, which is
those guys from the Netherlands,
which is cool. Yeah, and that was basically I remember that, because we are now it's Armada, but this is a little bit part of it as well. And I think it's part of the whole scene we have in the Netherlands. Because I remember that somebody was asking me. I was at a fair, a kind of similar fair as this one, but then in Cannes at the Mieden. And there was an English guy, and he said like, hey, I want to book Ferry Corsten. And it was like his first ever UK gig. And then, well, okay, we do cash, we go to the tunnel. And this is where it all happened, yeah. So, and I said, okay, you can book him, but I want to join him. So you need to buy me a ticket as well. So no, that was good fun. And I think that, you know, trance music evolved. And we started releasing trance music in the beginning. It was like 80% of what we were doing was trance. And I'm now super proud that we make this, you know, change to not only being a trance company, but a broader company. So recently we started working with Afrojack as well and his label, Wall Recordings. You know, we work with guys like Eric Morillo, which I always went to when I was young, and you know, when I was 25 and I went to the Pacha and in Ibiza, I was going to see Subliminal Nights with Eric Morillo and his filters, and I was like, wow, what is this? One day I want to work with this guy. And now we are doing this, and also working like back catalog from Subliminal. So last summer we had this Welcome to the Jungle remix out there, and you know, that kind of things are making me proud, because it's super cool to be able to work with music which you really feel. You know, it doesn't always mean that you need to make money with it, but it's what we do is like we release underground music, and we have the more commercial stuff, as you know, as well. And that balance is, for me, where it's all about.
But if it's your passion music, then you can be so excited over a new release or a new artist.
Yeah.
There's almost like this little kid pops up in you, because I can see that sparkle in your eyes. Like, yes, we're gonna.
No, it still is. We signed an act called Loud Luxury recently, and in October we released the first single from them. It's called Body. And I was like, what is this? And I remember that during the Amsterdam dance event, I said to a friend of mine who's also running a label in Germany, Contour. So he's representing our music there. I told him, like, you need to check this record, because this is going to be huge. And last week we entered the Canadian top 40. And now you see like traction in America as well. So it looks like we are going to be #1 in the airplay chart, dance airplay chart in America with Loud Luxury. And that's indeed,
cool.
You know, you have the feeling like this can work. And then after 3-4 months, you see all this type of traction, and it's working. That makes me, like feel like a little kid.
Yeah, and then it all comes together and it works. And that's amazing. But you're 15 years in Armada Music, so that's a big part of your life. What are you most proud of? I'm sure there must be a few benchmarks that this moment when we the first time State of Trance, or what is it you're most proud of? A few things from the last 15 years that really blew your mind.
I think that the first ever track which did so well when you start a company, you sign your first songs. I was super proud. I remember that I was always working from home on a Friday, and then the first fax, because those days you were doing business on a fax. The first ever fax came in for a compilation, and I was like, yeah. So, and it's a small thing, but if you start working on something new, and people know where to find you, and they appreciate what you do, then those small things are making you proud, feel proud. So that, but also the fact that I can go to the office and have like an amazing group of people working in Amsterdam, and the energy which is like in the company that's something I feel proud about almost every day, because you enter the door, you enter a building which is like,
we created this.
But also small things like a guy called Selwyn Sanatori. He's a painter,
the artist,
and he did like the walls in our office, and that makes it for me more funky. You enter, and this type of people are willing to do this kind of things for us. Basically, obviously, we asked him for, but that they do it. It gives like a swoon to the company, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it creates a really cool working environment. People feel more comfortable at home, more creative, I think, when you're in a building with all the white walls.
I want people to feel good. And so we, at a certain point, I was thinking, like, what do we miss in the office? And basically, I thought, like, we miss a quality sound system, a sound system where our A&Rs can listen to the demos like it's in a club. And as I like it's in a club, then we should build our own club. So we created a small little club in the company, and this is the good part. The DJs love it. So we had Todd Terry coming down to the office a couple of months ago, and it was Friday afternoon, and he was like, "Okay, so it's Friday afternoon. What are you doing?" Normally on a Friday afternoon from 4 o'clock it's ding-a-ling-a-ling, and the bar is open. So he started doing like, out of his, we did not even ask for it, but he was like, "Okay, I'm going to do a classic house set." So can you imagine, on a Friday afternoon for 70 people or 100 people, an exclusive set by Todd Terry?
That's amazing.
In the club, So
then it all comes together.
Yeah. And this is the reason why we are in this business, because of DJs.
So now it's 2018. So now I need you to look in the glass bowl, in the glass bowl. The next 15 years. Where will we be in the music scene and the record label scene in 10 or 15 years?
I think that right now music industry is changing every day. So basically, the way how we promote, the way how we sign as well, is changing because the world is changing. So it's very difficult for me to say, like in 15 years' time we are there. But I do believe that there's a bright future, because you see, like I was in China and Korea and Tokyo last month, in January, and you now see this kind of territories also opening up. We are working in Tokyo already for years, but China, we never made any money there. But it's 1.2 billion people living in China, and now you see that the law is changing, and the opportunities are getting bigger now in territories like this as well. So you see that for the next 15 years, you will see like a few new territories popping up.
South Korea.
South Korea, and that's huge as well, South Korea. China, obviously, because I believe that China can be an even more important territory than America, for instance. But it will take time, probably 10 to 15 years. And then, streaming is, I think, the end station. What else can pop up? We had
Tape decks.
Tape decks,
Compact
and then we
disc,
had vinyls,
vinyl.
and then you had the download, and the download was making sure that a lot of companies were going down because there was like illegal downloading was huge. But why should you now do something illegal? Because we have Spotify, you know, we have Apple Music, and so that's a good thing for the music industry. And you see it, the majors are doing better than ever. It's going into the right direction. Does this mean that for a lot of artists, sometimes you hear like, hey, where do you need a label for? Because it's all digital, and I can upload myself. And this is something I obviously don't believe in. I do believe that some acts can do this, because some acts have a lot of luck. But you know, if we release 20 singles, then it's not being said that all those singles are really working. And you need to build artists, and you need to, you know, be able to invest in videos and in marketing and stuff like that. So for instance, when we started working with Lost Frequencies, Are You With Me, we found like on the internet. So it was a SoundCloud link.
And now it has like 1 billion streams on Spotify?
Yeah, we have over 1 billion streams. We are
amazing.
Yesterday I got the news that we are for the 4th week in a row on the German, at #1 in Germany on the radio airplay charts.
And you found it on it was just somewhere on the internet. That
yeah, one of the A&Rs found it on the internet. And then we reached out and we signed it. And I love that song. So I was playing it for half a year and not that much happened. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, this guy is from Belgium. So we pushed the Belgium partners, like, hey, you are aware, this is a Belgium guy. And in Belgium it became like a #1. And from there on it was easy to go into France. It was easy to go also into the Netherlands, Germany. And now we are there, you know, he's an established artist.
Also the right timing for that sound, right? That deep house, soundish stuff with an important song structure as well.
Yeah, that's the reason
also
why I
the
was
timing.
saying it. Like nowadays, the industry is changing, and I think that what happened back then, 2-3 years ago, finding that song, putting it out, creating like millions of streams, hundreds of millions of streams. I think right now that this is more difficult to do it like this, to find music on SoundCloud and to push it that it goes like into the 300 millions. And the reason I think is because South America is also developed now. So you see a lot of South American artists popping up on Spotify. So there's less room for quality dance music. It's really, you know, even if you are #1 in Germany, it's really difficult to break into that top 5 of Spotify because of the competition. So that's a big difference compared to 3 years ago.
So it's getting more difficult for the next years to really push that stuff.
Yeah, you need to do more marketing, more. You need to invest more and more as a label to make it really happen. You know, if you want to stay on that Beatport level, if you want to do like club releases and, you know, create some DJ plays, that's easy. But if you really want to push dance acts to the next level and want to make sure that they have like 100 million, 200 million streams, you need to invest as a label tremendously.
And I also read some comments from artists that are not really satisfied with the whole streaming thing because of the wages that Spotify pays. What is your vision about that?
I think that, you know, a lot of artists were in the news and saying like, oh, Spotify is not good for us because of the royalties we are getting paid. I think it's totally wrong. And the reason why I think it's wrong is because those same artists are still on YouTube, for instance, and YouTube is only paying out 10% of what Spotify is paying out. So it's weird if you make your music available on YouTube. And then start complaining about a different another service which is paying 10 times as much. That's one. Secondly, it's also about the deal you have with your record label. So if a record label is only paying you 10% of what they receive, then it's little money. So I think it has a lot to do with the type of deals those artists are having with their labels. Yeah.
So they need better deals to start with.
They need better deals.
And cut YouTube out of the...
Yeah, true. YouTube should be
But is that changing in the future?
Any people from Google here?
will they change in the future? Do you think YouTube will eventually have to pay some more wages?
You know, they are super powerful.
Yeah, one of the biggest companies in the world, of course. Well, one of the other biggest companies in the world, Armada, you also have offices in London and New York.
Yeah.
What is the structure globally? How do you manage that, and how is it all structured?
Yeah, so when about 10 years ago, I was thinking like, hey, it makes sense to know a bit more about the American territory, as America is so big, and there were not too many options to partner up with other people in America. So we decided to open up an office there. First, we started working with other labels in America. So it was like an American lawyer was involved. Friends from Germany were involved. So we did this all together, learned a lot. And at a certain point, we decided to set up Armada US in New York. The good thing is we are in the same street as Spotify, so and that really helps. So we can go like on a weekly basis. We go to Spotify and present our music, but also I think that we created a structure in America by going to radio, having our own, group of people talking to the American media companies. So I'm super proud about. That's one of those things where I'm proud about. Is like yesterday I received like an overview of the airplay we have in America, and currently we are number 1, number 8, number 15. So we had 5 tracks in the top 25 of the American dance airplay charts. So and that's really because we are there. Only last year we set up a company in an office in London. I was thinking like, hey, Ministry of Sound is being sold. There's some more room in England. And the good thing is, if you are based in England, then it's easier to really sign English acts as well. So we have like a guy who used to work for Universal and for Ministry of Sound. He's our local A&R over there. So signing acts like Low Stepper, Felon, all like really British acts. And nowadays sometimes we have like 4 plays on Radio 1 in half an hour. So it's amazing to see the results already after being there for half a year.
So the next office will be in China, I suppose.
No, yeah, you never know. You never know. We teamed up with a company called NetEase, and it's unbelievable because when I was visiting, I was never in Beijing. So I visited their headquarters in Beijing. 30,000 people working for this company.
Whoa.
And it's like a kind of, they have social media integrated, so the music is integrated in their social media system. So you need to work with Chinese people. You can't go really as a company to China and open up an office. I don't believe in that. So it's good to have a partnership. But if it's growing like I feel it's going to grow, then it could make sense to have a real presence there. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's the quickest way for young producers to get their music to Armada?
The quickest way is if you don't work with us yet, we have a website, armadamusic.com, where you can find like a demo drop. So you can upload your demo.
It's as easy as that.
It's super easy. And I must say, we can't always give an answer because sometimes we receive 500 demos a day. That's a lot of work to go through everything. So I think the smartest way of doing this is finding out my phone number.
Stalk you
and
in the middle of the night.
Yeah, no, but the demo drop. That's
and for young producers and aspiring producers and artists, how important is the whole publishing part? Because music producers are creative people, and it can be a lot of hassle to you, the Puma, Sena, and all that stuff. How important is it to make that yourself a study as well, besides the creative part?
You see that about 20 years ago, most of the artists I was working with, they did not have like management. Management is really, it's a thing which came in from America. So when the EDM hype was there, all of a sudden, all the DJs were having a manager. And I'm like, huh? why do you need a manager? If you're here, you don't really need a manager. Then, especially when a manager does not really know something, then
only partying
it
and
can
drinking
even
booze.
be wrong advice. So I think that a publishing company can act like a manager. So a publishing company can provide like the right creative input. A publishing company is needed if you want to register your copyrights. Then it's important that it's being done globally. Because if you don't do it, if you don't have a publishing company, after 4 years it's very difficult to collect your income. So that's an administration reason why it's important to be with a publishing company. But I think a real good publisher would always inform you about songs and help you finding the right songs if you need songs. And not all dance producers are in need of songs, but most of them nowadays are willing to do something with vocals. So a publishing company can really do well for you if you are like a new artist or new producer, but also if you are already for 10 years or 20 years in this game, it's important to work together with the right publishing company. So for instance, the involvement we have in a publishing company in London, the company is called Phrase Differently. They have like writing rooms, so it's very old school. It's in Shoreditch. We have those writing rooms and studios, and it was like a guy, and he wrote the song "How Deep Is Your Love." So then another person running this company is sending the track to the management of Calvin Harris and say, "Oh, I want to do this." You know? And then your song is there, and Calvin is happy, and everybody's happy, you know. So same happened to a guy we work with now, Justin Yesso. He wrote a song called Stargazing, and went to Kygo, and then so that's something a publisher can do. Is you write a song, and then the publisher is connecting it to another EDM artist, or you are a writer and you are mainly writing like instrumentals. Then you can tell your publisher, like, hey, please send me those hit songs.
So this is artist building in the future, right? This is how it goes.
This is how it goes. Yeah, this is and that's the reason why I think that we will always have a bright future as a record label, because we have invested in this kind of collaborations. It's not only about, oh, let's take some shares in a company and let's see what happens. It's also because you want to be surrounded by creative people. We are now building a studio in Amsterdam, and yes, it's a lot of money, but I hope to create that one hit in that studio. But also, we can now offer our producers, if they are from Canada or Russia or from the Netherlands, we can offer them to record in Amsterdam without any hustle, So there is a vocal booth. We are around the corner with Schiphol, so it's easy to fly in people. And I believe that this kind of things are super important. The creative part of making music and being part of that as a record company or publishing company is getting more and more important. Yeah.
I went to Sweden once, and they were making music for Celine Dion in this big house. They had a studio with 3 different levels. And one guy was doing drum programming all day for the Celine Dion songs and Westlife. And on one floor you had like the keyboard players, only did the melodies.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also something for Armada, like the drum theater downstairs and upstairs the melodies. And then
and then you should have like for all those different departments a different A&R.
A different A&R, yeah. But you need more office space then.
Yeah. No, but basically I've been to the in the house, the old house of Marilyn Monroe in LA. And this is where The Weeknd is recording. This is where all those guys are recording. This is on a pop level. It's not, we don't have this for dance music yet, I think. But this is one of my dreams, to create something where, and that's basically our office right now, is that I want people who are in dance music to think like, hey, I'm going to have a look there because I can find the right song or I can find the right collaboration. And it doesn't really need to mean that that they are signed to us, but basically that they want to come down just because of the creative environment. So that's the reason why we also have the studio now coming up. The club is there. The radio studio from Armin is there. So yeah,
it's getting there.
It's getting there.
And the funny thing is that initially, I think independent companies like Armada have the most dance music releases and not the majors. Do you think that eventually that it will change in the future, or do you think it will stay this way?
As always, when I was at Warner's, we set up the dance department, and all the Warner companies in Europe were having their dance units, and then a lot of dance units were being closed down, and now because of the EDM boom a couple of years ago, a lot of major companies stepped into dance music again, but it's always around. You see it, they come and go. And it's about people, this whole industry, most of the industries are about people, but especially music people can, at major companies, can switch. So you can sign as an artist to, let's say, Universal, and you sign with an A&R. But the A&R can be gone in 3 years' time, and then you're still signed to Universal, and then, this will never happen with us.
No.
I will always stay there.
You'll all stay there.
And that's a good thing, but I also think that, major companies can work music well, obviously, pop music well, and dance music, specific dance music as well. But you don't need to release only pop songs as an act. As a dance act, you need to create your library of club music, which is more important. Because if you start DJing and you can't play your own music because it's only pop, then what's the sense?
It doesn't work.
So, and I don't believe that a major company is always interested in releasing those club tunes because it's only bringing like 3,000 euros turnover. Why should we do this? We need hits, we need hits. That's the main mentality of a major. Whereby if we sign an act, we really want to have those club tunes because it's part of the artist building. So I think that's the main difference between an independent company, a company like us, and a major company. Yeah.
Thank you, Maykel Piron.
Thank you, Dennis.
Maybe we have some questions from the audience for Maykel. So that we bring in microphones. Somebody in the back there. Cool.
Yeah, thanks for everything. I was wondering, what is one of the biggest challenges which you've faced in the past 15 years at which you thought, okay, how are we gonna ever get over this or solve it?
It's a good question. I think that the biggest challenges were to find the right people. It's very difficult, especially in America, to find the right people. So I'm always looking for quality people, people who are fitting our company. But especially, you can have a company, a music company, and then you start signing your music. You get more music in. But look to where we are right now. Artists are having 1 billion streams, and you need to report those streams. So all of a sudden, we had a business where we needed to report millions and millions of streams to our acts. And that's, for me, I want to report in the best possible way and always, send the money in time. So there was a big challenge when the music industry changed, to always report in time. So we invested a lot in the back end of the company. So software, the right people who are able to make sure that the artists are getting what they need to get.
All right, thank you very much.
Any more questions?
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the dance fair.